Hey guys, so today I'm going to be answering 4 questions that I received on the SuperMemo server. So if you have more, feel free to either write them in the comments, or I'm going to put another form where you can submit more questions, and I'm going to try to do maybe around like a weekly video or so, answering people's questions. So yeah, now the 4 questions that I'm going to answer today are: how to use incremental video, how to use links, and have you ever personally struggled with SuperMemo? So I'll start with that first one first, how to use incremental video. So incremental video is actually very simple. Now all you have to do is just go to YouTube. Specifically, it has to be YouTube for the first kind of import. And let's say that I've got this wonderful video. Now if I copy that link and I use this shortcut, ctrl+n, then what you're going to see is that bam! SuperMemo just imports it all for you.
Okay, so today
and this works pretty well. Now the only caveat is that the references aren't very detailed and it doesn't have a title. Now, small tip, if you want to add a title to a video, it doesn't matter that much. Sometimes it can, but it doesn't matter that much. But if you do want to, what you can do is write out what is incremental writing, and then I can use the shortcut. Alt-T, and what you'll see is that, well, it wrote it as title, and it gave it this strange font. That basically just means that it made it into a reference. So, in terms of other stuff for incremental video, the main thing is that you want to be, I guess you start with mark. So basically, as you watch the video, let's say that you watched up till here on this go, then you can press mark, and what will happen is that the next time that you come back to this video,
okay, so today...
Oops, okay, it's not supposed to happen. Okay, now it works. So now the next time that I come back to this video, never mind, it didn't work.
Element
Let me
that
try
are
that
most
again.
important to me.
Okay, now you can
Okay,
press resume, and
that are
it'll
most
start you
important
off
to me.
where you left
I'm-
off. Now that's pretty helpful. Now another thing that you can do is make video extracts of parts you liked. So you just have to click the start and stop, and then do extract. Now if I want to take a look at that extract and I press this arrow, go down, then you'll see that it made me this extract, and it starts at 258, and it's intended to stop there. I don't know that it's actually like a hard thing and that it'll like loop it or anything, but yeah, so that's how you make an extract. So one other thing that I think is really important to know about incremental video is if you say, the way that you're meant to do it, from what I can tell, is you watch the video, and as you watch, you sort of write out notes. So let's say that my note is incremental writing is really cool, and it was made by Waz and George Zonios. It was also very cool. And let's say this is my note. Now, if you want to make closed deletions, and you do make a closed deletion, you're going to notice that something horrible happens. That the video component is still there. And I don't think that you're going to want a video component in your closed deletion. It's going to kind of suck. So what you're going to want to do is, that when you have a topic and you are done with this topic, you want to press ctrl+e. Now what ctrl+e is going to do is it's going to let you edit these components. Now you can't do it whenever there's this blue highlight, so you have to press escape, press ctrl+e, and you want to press it until it looks like this. And then you want to right click, delete the component, and then do yes, and modify only this element. It's going to be really bad if you modify all the elements, so definitely don't do that. And bam! Now I only have this, so now if I make a closed deletion, it looks okay. So yeah. So again, to reiterate, what you're going to want to do is import a video and incrementally write out some notes. And whenever you're done, just do the ctrl+e thing, delete the main component, and then start incrementally reading your notes. So if you have any questions about this process, feel free to ask in the comments. Now, one thing I will note that is a bug with incremental video is that if you're in the ABC collection and you try to use incremental video, from what I remember, it just doesn't work. Like, you can't, like, there's no incremental video template, so it just, like, nothing really happens. I don't remember the exact stuff, but if you do have that issue and you're in an ABC collection, my recommendation is that you have your ABC collection, oops, you go to File, and then you do Merge Collection, and you merge your ABC collection into a new collection. And by doing that, you'll have the template of the proper collection. And, well, yeah, you'll be able to use incremental video. So one other thing I forgot to mention is that I'm extremely impatient, so I really hate watching stuff at 1x speed, even a video as amazing as this. So what I like to do very often is that instead of watching the video here in SuperMemo, I'll just right-click this link, and I'll do Open a New Window. Whoops. And you'll see that when you do right-click Open a New Window, it'll open up the window in your browser of choice. So what I like to do then is obviously have this YouTube stuff where I can increase playback speed. I also have a plugin that lets me increase past that limit. Let me find what it's called. Okay, so I found it. This is the plugin I use. And if you're wondering why my YouTube is blue, I don't actually remember why I made it blue, but the thing that I use to hide the comments and stuff is this Improve YouTube plugin, I think. So I do rec this. But yeah, so usually what I'll do is whenever I'm doing some, well, like getting around the video pops up, I'll just open it up in YouTube, and then I'll like put it on one of my screens, and I'll put this, like, yeah, basically I'll put the video on one screen, and I'll put SuperMemo on another, and then I'll be able to take notes and then watch it at more than 1x speed. And it's a lot of fun. So give that a try. Now, next question. So the next question we've got is how to use links. Now I think this is a good question because when I first started, links were confusing as hell to me, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So to start off, let me just find a cool link. And some article. Ah, yes, this one is good. So let's say that I've got this link, and now there's a few ways to interact with links. Now let me show you the one type you're never supposed to do, clicking on it. Now you'll notice that, first off, nothing's happening. Ah, yes, there it is. So SuperMemo is actually Internet Explorer renderer, so you can open links in SuperMemo, and it'll open like this. You might think, wow, that's really cool. Now what you're not realizing is that this only works because this site is okay with SuperMemo, or with Internet Explorer. And a lot of sites are not, and you'll get like a bunch of errors, so I recommend never trying that. Now, if you do make the terrible mistake of trying it, you can just press Alt-Left or this green arrow up here to go back, and you'll be safe. Now, there are two other ways to open this link. So you can hold the Shift key and click it, and it'll open it in Internet Explorer. And that's really cool and useful. And small tip is a really nice way to just repeatedly import stuff and have it be nice is to use the thing called article parser. So to get to it, you just type in articleparser.win, and you see this bookmarklet, you just drag it up, and then you say yes, and bam. So I have two, so I don't need that one. But now the benefit of this article parser is that if I click parse article, it cleans up the formatting, and import becomes way better, and it's quite nice. So that's the first real mode of opening stuff. You just open Internet Explorer with holding Shift and clicking. Now the other thing you can do is you can right click and do open a new window, and that also works. Now if you want to import it into SuperMemo though, that's not really ideal. Unless it is, because you do have another option. You can again use parse article, and then use copy paste, like this. And if you do that, it works pretty well. And the main advantage of using Internet Explorer import over just using parse article and copy paste is that you get references. So what you'll see is that I don't have any references in this article. There is a way to fix that, which is basically just to do what we did earlier. So use this Alt-T shortcut, and it makes a reference, and then it's not so bad. So copy-paste with parse article, it's a not bad option. Now, something else really wacky that I'm sure like only a very small subset of people know, and Nias is the one that showed me this, is you click Edit, and after you click Edit, you go to Open Web Links, and bam, you have all the list of all the articles in here. And man, there is a hell of a lot of them. And now let's say that I select a few articles that seem really cool, and I do open. Now, it opens all of them in my browser of choice. Now, the thing that's going to be a pain is that if you open like 100 articles, it's going to kind of suck. Like, if you do it in Edge, because you have to like copy paste manually. So I'd recommend if you have like a bunch of things you want to import, to switch your browser to Internet Explorer and then to do it, and then it won't be so bad. But yeah, that's a thing. So that's about it for the links section. Now the next question, have you ever personally struggled with SuperMemo? Most definitely. So in the beginning when I first started, around 3 years ago, but I really started around 2.5, I think, like properly with incremental reading. I definitely struggled like hell. But it was like a lot of fun though, because I wasn't in a hurry, I didn't have any expectations, and I didn't know I was doing stuff poorly. So the way I started is I basically just imported this incremental learning manual. And I have a video on this, like how to import it, split it up, but yeah. So basically the way it started is that I just imported this entire thing, I split it into a bunch of chunks, I just pressed learn and I started going through it, and I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even know that I joined the SuperMemo server yet. But yeah, I just was going through it. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just a bunch of fun because I knew the very basics and I was just trying stuff, messing around, and I just put in lots and lots of quantity, and at some point everything just clicked, and I think I became fairly good. But I think the important part is that when I started, I was struggling, but I wasn't expecting much, so I was okay with that, and I was willing to put enough quantity to get to being good at quality level, like to being able to do good things with incremental reading. And I think I see a lot of people that generally struggle because their expectations are too high, they're in too much of a hurry, they're not willing to screw up, put in enough quantity to become good. And I think like a useful analogy or a story, I guess, I think from Atomic Habits that helps illustrate this, is that there is a pottery class, and the pottery teacher divided the group, or the class into two groups. The first group was graded on the number of quantity of pots that they made, and the second group was judged on the quality of the pots. Now, you only had to make one pot in the quality group, but resoundingly, the group that made the better pots was the one that just focused on quantity, putting in the time. And I think that's just really important, that in the beginning, it's really hard to put in the time if you have all these expectations. You want quality immediately. When you're just willing to just do it, have fun, relax a bit, then it's not so bad. This is definitely something I've gotten worse at over time. Basically just being willing to just put in the quantity, be patient. But I think it's an extremely important skill. Now, outside of that, I've had other struggles. So I think my biggest struggle has been with incremental writing, which I love, but I also find to be kind of a pain. So this is my incremental writing section. And I have like a massive amount of ideas, like just ridiculous amount of ideas. And initially when I was doing incremental writing, I was spending like say an hour or something on it. And it was just so much fun. If you don't know what incremental writing is, I recommend watching that video from James. But the issue I had long term with incremental writing is that I just found it to be a huge pain to organize stuff. And I wasn't willing to just sort of half-ass it, which I probably should have been. And it would have been fine over time if I'd done that. But I just got really like bummed out about how hard it was to organize things. In that, let me see if I can find post. When I was trying to write complex articles, I just found it really hard to organize them not terribly. And I just didn't really like that. So I just sort of gave up. I didn't end up doing incremental writing anymore. And right now I'm still not doing very much incremental writing, which I kind of regret. At some point, I'm probably going to try out James's Obsidian incremental writing plugin and try that, because I think it remedies some of those issues by having backlinking, which I think would have made structuring things way easier. Though the frustrating thing is that Obsidian doesn't have knowledge tree style hierarchy, which I don't like. But yeah, that's something I've struggled with. I think other things I've sort of struggled with is like consistent long-term usage. So I do still use SuperMemo, but I've found it like basically my initial best periods of using SuperMemo were like when I first started, like around 2 years ago, January of 2 years ago. And what ended up happening is that I had a bad experience, and for a while I just wasn't doing very much. And I lost my habit of doing SuperMemo every day. And after that, I still enjoyed SuperMemo, but it became harder to actually just start using it each day and to like keep up the habit. So that's something I found hard over time. My recommendation there is to use micro rules and to make sure that use SuperMemo, say, at least 5 minutes every day. And but do a bit of learning. I think that's really important to just keep in that habit of opening it. Because what I found is that like if I do SuperMemo for half an hour, I'm always having a lot of fun. But like that first 30 seconds is where I've really struggled, like to just start and open it. I think besides that, something I've also struggled with, and that I only realized recently, is that learning, I guess I should say studying and training are different. So if you want to get good at a skill, studying the skill is a thing you can do. Training at the skill is also something you can do, but they're different. If you read a book on, well, like I'll give you an actual example of something I've been learning. So I've been trying to learn UI design, and I was trying to study UI design. Now the problem with that is that UI design, a lot of it is tacit knowledge. It's just like internalized. You can't like put words to it, and you can get like a lot of benefit out of reading and learning and studying, but you also would get a lot of benefit out of say copying designs or making your own or analyzing other people's designs. And you really need some sort of balance of both. I don't really understand what the exact balance should be yet, but for those of you learning a skill, you really want to keep that in mind. Like that there is like that those are separate activities. You can't expect to study and then gain skill just from studying alone. You need a balance of both. And I've seen a lot of people do this with programming, in that they spend too much time on studying it in SuperMemo and too little time actually practicing it. Now, personally, what I've been doing since I've started learning programming for class is I am worried about forgetting syntax, but I also want to get good. So I've been just making a bunch of cards of syntax and hoping for the best, but not spending all my time on that. Just making a few here and there, and there's something that seems useful, and not spending all my time there. So, yeah. I think something else I sort of struggle with as well is focusing too much on output. So I think whenever, like basically there's all these ideas around effectiveness, that effectiveness is doing the right things. And it doesn't matter how efficient you are if you're doing the wrong things. Now, I found the issue with this approach of trying to focus as much as possible on doing the right things when it comes to SuperMemo is that you can't really optimize for that. Like you're conscious, if you consciously think too much about how to get the most value out of it, it's just going to make it not fun. And you're just going to ignore a lot of articles that you find interesting. And I think the better approach to take here is like you do want some amount of thinking about what you're doing, but I think that you want to set a baseline of already doing SuperMemo, and then after that, optimizing a bit more, and just making lots and lots of use of priorities. And that's the thing I kind of wish I'd done. That instead of trying to optimize from top down of saying, all right, this is the stuff I want to learn, I'd rather have done it bottom up. So whenever I see something, ignoring my rational evaluation, to think about what I feel about it, how much value I'm getting, and then based on that to reprioritize or deprioritize. Yeah. So now this last question, how do I follow the learn drive? I think this is a very broad, hard to answer question. My recommendation is that if you're starting out with SuperMemo, that you import whatever seems cool, and if something doesn't feel cool, you just get rid of it. Simple as that. Yeah. Just do what you want, do what you find interesting, and if you're not sure what you want, then to try some incremental writing, to try some thinking. I think that part's kind of important, because I think a lot of times what you want and what you don't want is kind of clear, but a lot of times it's not. And I think when it's kind of murky, the easiest thing to do is just write out what you're thinking, write out what you're debating on, and I think that really helps a lot. Because whenever you try to figure out stuff like that in your head, you're not really sure about it. You're sort of limited by short-term memory. When you start writing, then I think it makes it a lot easier to extend your thought. But yeah, so that's all for this video. If you have any other questions, just feel free to post them below. I hope this was at least marginally helpful, so thanks for watching.